Welcome to this video, the highlights video for round 8, the first round of the second turn of this tournament. And this round sees the game between the two leading players, both on +2, 2 wins. And Anand has 2 wins and no loss, while Aronian has 3 wins and a loss. He lost against Anand, of course, first round. So let's have a look at the game first. Aronian against Anand. Yeah, we have a Reti opening, and now Aronian comes up with an entirely new idea, Queen b3, an almost unknown move. And as Kramnik said in his press conference, I had looked at this move, but it's so silly that I couldn't even bring myself to even play it in a rapid game. I wouldn't go so far that it's not totally silly, but it serves mainly one purpose, to get a game without getting into a deeper theoretical battle like in the Slav defense or any kind of well explored opening. It covers the pawn. Anand is playing d4, ambitious move, gaining space in the center. And this basically involves a pawn sacrifices. After e3, you don't want to take and give white this huge center. He played c5, and after that, Aronian quickly played queen b5. Simply winning this pawn. Okay. Black is gaining lots of development on the queen. And we see that after 8 moves, white has played 5 moves with this queen. So throw out your textbooks. No? Don't move the queen in the opening. The number 2 player and the former world champion are in a game where the number 2 player is moving all the time the queen. It's obviously risky what Aronian is doing. He is not developing and giving black a quite nice play in the center. Here Anand played bishop c5. In fact, here the move knight f6 was maybe the more interesting try to set white some problems. One point is that bishop e2 is not good due to d3. Going for this forks. And if white is playing the capture, you have e4. And this leads to very sharp play, obviously, as white cannot move the knight. This is very bad even. d5 is the move. Takes, and in this position the move bishop c5 is interesting, with really crazy complications. One idea is that if white is greedy now and takes, there is queen e7, and this is probably just winning for black, as this you don't even need to analyze. And white must play this move, very crazy stuff, after which black can capture.
Check.
And here he is in excellent shape, threatening bishop b7, winning the queen, or winning the queen after this. Really crazy stuff. Knight f6, I believe, was the more interesting move, really. Aronian is not lost or anything, but he needs to defend very precisely after that. After bishop c5, which was Anand's move, Aronian managed to block the center and complete his development slowly. Knight d2 and a5 by black. So black is a pawn down, and his compensation is not so apparent, but it is there, and it's mainly focused, or it's mainly due to one thing. This is this idea: knight coming to c5 and possibly even f5. While white is really in somewhat of a passive position. He retreated the queen, another queen move, and now Anand played bishop d6. He didn't want to play this, so first retreated, and still with the idea to play knight to c5. Knight e1 by Aronian, possibly intending bishop g4, and now knight c5. And here it is really not so easy to play white. Something like this, for example, black will play a4, and just after, let's say here, You really are pressed with white. What are you doing? I mean, you're very, very passive. And black is maybe even coming with f5. It's not much fun to play. Aronian played this move, and Anand went back to a6, threatening a4 and to return, which Aronian answered with knight d2. And well, Anand wants to have this a4 threat, so he plays knight c5, and you get the hunch. Yes, it's really like that. They repeated and made a draw in this position. Yeah, a loud boo is coming from the audience. Okay, yeah, I understand that. I also would have liked to have a big battle, but it's quite understandable, really, in this position. Aronian has made an opening experiment that in a way failed because he has a very passive position. On the other hand, it's not like Vishy is just winning or has a clear-cut way to an advantage. But he's comfortable. But he's also very comfortable with the draw in the tournament situation, as you always need to keep in mind that this draw means that the mini match that he has with Aronian is won by Anand. He won the first game, now a draw here. So would the tournament end right now, then Anand is the challenger, because if he's on the same score with Aronian, then the direct match decides. So for Anand, a draw in this game was perfectly acceptable. He would certainly have continued if he thought he'd had a clear advantage. That's obvious. But it's not like that. It's just a comfortable position. But okay, you're pawn down, and yeah, and yeah, could have Aronian played on? Yeah, I doubt it. Really, it's not very comfortable to play. The computer is suggesting really weird-looking stuff like a4 to block against this, but then you really have completely destroyed your queenside extra pawn, and well, f5 is just coming at some point after preparation or even immediately. Hard to tell. I mean, it's just not much fun to play, and you also need to be aware if Aronian would lose the game, would have lost the game. He's in a terrible position. One point behind Anand and the worst tiebreak. Terrible. So it's a bit of a play it safe decision. Very understandable. It keeps both players' chances intact. Okay, let's go to the next game. Topalov, Mamedyarov. Both lost the round before, so Topalov lost in a drastic fashion, and Mamedyarov spoiled this winning position against Kramnik. So both certainly not in the best of moods. Yeah, we have a Najdorf, Topalov playing the open Sicilian, and he plays the topical h3 line, which prepares an early g4. Mamedyarov goes for a sideline. He plays with g6. Or this is fairly normal looking. And long castle. So a sharp game. We have opposite sides castle and attacks in the center and on the king. Yeah, Mamedyarov goes for a quick play with knight c4, and Topalov must really stop that. He played b3, which is on the other hand also weakening the king position a bit, but it was necessary, so nothing else. Queen here, and the knight retreated to cover this now loose knight. b5 and knight d5, very normal moves that are typical for this type of position. White wants to use this outpost and now establish a pawn on d5, which severely limits the knight on a5. This knight is a key piece, of course. It is offside. Cannot go here, cannot go here, and yeah, well, we can go to b7, but who wants to go to b7? Eh? So is white better here? Yeah, it looks like white is comfortable, but Mamedyarov has thought of a counterplay, and this is very interesting. Played e6. Now rook f2. Yeah, this was probably designed to cover the sensitive c2 square. More of a defensive setup. And yeah, here Mamedyarov played. Oops. Didn't expect that. But it's in fact a very good move. He just solves the problem of the knight by sacrificing it. Yeah, and okay, white needs to take. No argue here. And here it's very, very concrete. Black is threatening to play c3 and then just mate white. And this is also happening if white would play c3. This is just winning for black, this attack. It seems that the absolute best defense is what Topalov played. He played bishop d4 and now c3 by Mamedyarov. Yeah, and it turns out that black will get a piece back. White cannot keep it. Yeah, he cannot go. Something like that is again lost. This is the absolute best move. Yeah, and now we see that with this sequence, he's getting the pawn back, Mamedyarov, and retains an active position with the rook. Both rooks actually. This is also ready to enter. And after a couple of more moves, we came to a rook endgame, which was agreed drawn here. Yeah, a game which had one really exciting moment when this knight sacrifice was coming. But it seems that it's one of those cases where both sides simply play correctly, and we end in a draw almost by force after this this sharp continuation with knight c4. Yeah, a good game by both players. It does not help them really. Both would desperately need a win to at least come near having a chance. But yeah, a draw is not helping both of them. But objectively speaking, a very correct and fine game. Okay, Kramnik Andreikin next. Yeah, we got the Chebanenko Slav. This is what Andreikin has prepared for the tournament. It seems he had played an a6 Slav earlier. And Kramnik played g3, which is no surprise because he had played this before. And the fun thing is that Andreikin now took 20 minutes to play b5 on move 5. This is quite funny. I mean, he's not really thinking about this over the board, isn't he? He couldn't really expect g3. I mean, if you would give me the task to prepare against Kramnik, and I would need to guess what move is Kramnik going to play here, it's clear that he will play a4 or yeah. Let's do this. Play a4 or g3, as this is just his repertoire. So g3 couldn't really come as a surprise. Okay, but Andreikin took it some time, and he found an interesting setup with this early knight e4. This costs some time, as we see. White is better developed, and after bishop a3, which is I think a strong idea, he's under some pressure now. You cannot really play e6 because yeah, this just takes too much time. White will get a quick initiative, probably also opening the c file. This is why he went with g6, fianchettoing the bishop. Yeah, but white is just quicker on the c file. And white, after a couple of more moves, really gets a dangerous play on the c file. It looks really threatening. But maybe it is a case where black's position is just solid enough to keep it in about on about equal terms. He played queen f6, which is a strong move, an interesting move, attacking two pawns. And Kramnik already didn't have much of a choice. He needed to sacrifice one of them, and this is what he did. He gave away f3 for an obvious compensation. We see that here after all this tempo gaining moves. He has many active pieces in play. The rook here, he's threatening mate at the moment. Active bishop, this rook may swing over. He only has one stupid looking piece, obviously this is a bishop. But I think Andreikin plays a very good defense here. He played f6, f5 also possible, but f6 seems okay. Bishop e7. And now queen to g5. Yeah, here maybe this wasn't the absolute best move. I don't know. The computer wants to go h5 and says it's a compensation. Very complicated position. White obviously has a very good compensation for the pawn, but it's really hard to tell if it is more than enough for than than were the pawn. This was played, and now queen d2. The only move, because white has threatened f4. And exactly here, I think Kramnik is playing a move that is basically conceding a draw here. At the end, it's almost by force leading to a drawn position. He could have also played queen e3 here, and this is a really good suggestion by the computer. Black really has not much of a choice. He needs to basically exchange now. And here we get to a position where, of course, there are queens traded, but white has a very serious initiative for the pawn. And I believe he has very good chances to play this position for a win, simply by slowly improving the position. You don't need to do anything drastic here. One possible idea could be to improve this bishop, maybe here, and at the right moment break open the queen side. Here I think white has serious chances of increasing the initiative even more and maybe go for a win later. What he played is g5, and this does not really lead to anything. Andreikin took that and even took the second pawn. Yeah, Kramnik obviously thought that he has a very good initiative even for the 2 pawns. That's true, he has some play, but it's probably only good enough for a draw. A couple of moves later, it turned out that white here also now being forced to do something concrete. There's nothing better to take here, and here they agree to draw. White can
check,
get this pawn back and play rook c8. Yeah, something like that is just
check,
just completely dead. And yeah, a draw was agreed a couple of moves earlier in this position. In fact, they agreed to a draw. Yeah, a very, I think, relatively correct game. Andreikin played a very good defense, really, being under pressure right from the opening, with a somewhat strange time management and preparation. But Kramnik, maybe he could have done this, what I mentioned, this queen e3 move to sustain the initiative, but very, very tough, all those decisions. Well, g5 wasn't enough to really do anything, and I guess the draw is a quite fair result. All right, so next game and last game for this highlight video, Svidler Karjakin. Yeah, Svidler is on 50% before this game, Karjakin on -2, so he's basically almost out of it, but still he certainly wants to win a game. Svidler is playing the King's Indian attack via the knight f3 move order. A surprise, but he's varying his openings. He does not want to play e4 all the time, especially against people who play the Berlin, and Karjakin is one of those guys. Okay, c5, and here Svidler comes up with an interesting idea, e4. A new idea, really. This move only has been played once in my database, and it's an interesting pawn sacrifice that Karjakin does not take. Yeah, if you want some more info about the opening stage of this game, I suggest you go to the single video, because I explain some things about the King's Indian attack and the merits of this move order that I cannot repeat here due to time constraints, but just switch to the individual game if you are interested in this opening. Yeah, we got this position, interesting, with c4, and Karjakin played d4, a move that has a slightly dodgy reputation, but he follows it up with an interesting concept. He plays king h8 and now f5, which is very interesting because white cannot really take here, and especially not here due to knight e5, black wins. And if white cannot take, if you take here and play a nothing move, black will play e5 with a good center. Yeah, so you cannot take. So black has managed to put a pawn on f5, which controls those two crucial squares. Yeah, Svidler plays knight g5, which black took, and now queen c7, an important move that puts pressure on e5 and prevents the capture here, because you can recapture with the queen. Yeah, Svidler went for a pawn sack with g6 to get the knight into an attacking position here on the king side. But Karjakin is playing a good defense. One knight to f8, one knight here to possibly exchange later. Yeah, and Svidler plays it very directly, placing the bishop on d5. Black blocks it, and after this puts some pressure on d5. I think in this position Svidler should have taken with the knight on e6. After knight e6 he can take on g6, and I think this should end in a draw. Really, it's almost a forced draw after this sequence. Black has no way to play for a win here. There's bishop h6 and other moves, but okay, white can also not win. This is in fact even worse for black. Yeah, he decided to take here, but this somehow led to an endgame where he was just a pawn down at the moment, and after some moves we went to this structure, and of course here only black can be somewhat better. Okay, it's a double pawn, but it's still a pawn, and yeah, black is somewhat easier or quicker in attacking possible weaknesses on the queen side. There's also the idea to play b5 at the right moment, which in fact, yeah, Karjakin here had prepared with b5, and yeah, Svidler played bishop g5 here on move 40, last move for the time control, which Karjakin responded with the nice move f4. Very good pawn sacrifice to get something going. Pressure on f3. Yeah, we can look at the endgame a bit later. It was difficult to defend for Svidler. I actually thought that around here a3 with the idea b4 was a good defense, but okay, you need to check the longer video for the details on that. At the end, we got to a position. Yeah, I got some trades. He even got the d pawn. Yeah, we got to a position where here black has this pawn, which does not look so important, but he's got this advanced g pawn, and it's really tricky to defend. I think he should have played rook e1 here, still with drawing chances. Rook e8, I think, is losing, especially in connection with the plan that he is playing. But it was tricky to see. Yeah, here we come to the final point of the game, really, where Karjakin now invested 16 minutes. He certainly evaluated his endgame, which I believe is a draw. And at the end, he played rook takes d4, simply sacrificing the exchange, following it up with b6, saving the pawn for the moment. And it turns out that this position is really a completely forced win for black, because the g-pawn is unstoppable, and with the most precise moves that also Svidler found, we come to a race situation at the end. This is absolute best play, where the second g-pawn, yeah, the double pawn on g7, at the end is the decisive factor. Black promotes, white promotes, but black is the first to check, and this is in fact decisive. You go to the b file, you lose the queen, and if you go here, yeah, you will lose the queen as well, something like that. Loses the queen, or you can also go here, which loses the queen. So very nice calculation effort by Karjakin with this capture. Yeah, a good fighting game, with Karjakin scoring his first win of the tournament after really having a tough first 7 rounds. Yeah, so what is the standing after the round? You can you can look it up, of course, on the official website, but or on any chess website. But I can briefly sum up that Aronian and Anand are leading with +2. Got 2 more wins than losses. This +2 is easy to compare to the other players. Kramnik on +1. That's the only pursuer of the two. And then we got a huge gap because no one is on 50%. We have let me think of it. They are all on -1, right? Andreikin is on -1. Swidler on -1, Karjakin on -1, Topalov. Yeah, they're all on -1. This is funny. We have we have 5 players. They're all on -1. I was just, I don't have it in front of me. I'm just calculating in my head. So we have all 5 players are on -1. And so one game below 50%. While Kramnik is on +1 and Aronian and Anand are on +2. So it's basically a 3-man race now. It's very unlikely that one of the guys with the minus score at the moment would actually start a series of wins now. It's very unlikely, really. So Aronian, Anand or Kramnik probably will make it, which is also in the case of Kramnik and Aronian, pre-tournament favorites. Anand is certainly a surprise, but he's playing excellently well in this tournament, so you cannot really argue with that he's on top of the standings. All right, thanks for watching, and make sure to watch the single game videos if you want really detailed analysis of the games. Thanks for watching.